Alright guys, I hope you're all doing well and welcome to this tournament grand finals. It's going to be the Vampire Coast led by Aranessa facing off against Ulrich Rahl and the Norskins here on the Imperial Road. And let's go ahead and break down these armies. Also very cool to see Vampire Coast making it here to the grand finals. Haven't seen them in some time. Front line is going to be Zombos, so we got a bunch of Zombos backed up by some Halberds in the secondary. Just going to be Deckhand mobs and then a little bit of a gun line. So Gunnery mob, and Gunnery mob as well. So no heavy duty shooting, but going to be a lot of small arm shooting. And honestly, Norsca's armor isn't super prevalent. They do have some via Famir, but really you're often going to be seeing light infantry and trolls and things like that do have low-ish armor, so the small arms fire is fine. Morgul's going to be quite good at chewing through infantry, and our hero core is going to be Aranessa, with a Vampire Fleet Captain of the Deep, who's going to be using Fog of the Damned, a Denizen of the Deep summon, so a Crab summon, and Tide Call to clear out Bearmen and those type of infantry. Aranessa on foot, interesting. So with the net ability and anti-large, could, catch a character like Wulfric and, punish it a little bit. And a Morgul Haunter, who is, of course, an anti-infantry fighter as well that does cause terror. Very, very spooky. For the armies of Ulrich, it is going to be a kind of an old-school army, really. Kind of a pre-update. I don't think a single new unit here. We do have two Norsca Ice Trolls, which have been very, very good for a long time. These bad boys hit incredibly hard and do, of course, regenerate. If they can avoid being alpha-struck, they can generate a lot of value over the course of a long game. Marauders and Marauders Spearmen. And we do have Wulfric with Lore Boats, Javelins in the secondary to deal with Morgul's and Crabs, and then in the back we do have a couple Spearmen. So yeah, a very kind of old school Norscan wide build with Javelin Pressure and a Burning Headcaster being called out right as we look at that. Now let's talk about what units would actually be good in this matchup from the new stuff. I do think Dreadmaws would be incredibly good in this matchup. You could probably get away with bringing one or two of them. And I do also think Bearmen could be viable as well. And yeah, the Chimera could also be incredibly devastating. That thing is just nasty in every matchup and bullies most characters and monsters and units it runs into, really, with its breath attack. Something that's for sure going to get nerfed, I think, on the horizon. So middle objective is starting to flip here to Nerexa. So we do see Aranessa as well as the Caster coming up and the Morgul. So 369 capture weight, damn thing fine. And we got the Morguls here with 3 capture weight as well against the 6 capture weight here of Ulrich Rahl. So now the objective is going to be swinging back towards the forces of the Vampire Coast. And Wulfric coming over here with Lore Boats. And it looks like he's actually going to try and get involved in combat. Now, Wulfric is an okay fighter. He would get probably bullied by a Morgul Haunter with its anti-infantry and its AP. Granted, he could return the favor because the Morgul Haunter isn't super heavily armored. So we'll have to see how that goes. Now, what is the call-in going to be? We do see Nerexa saving up for 2,200 supplies. Wow, something big. Is it going to be a big armored crab or maybe calling in a bunch of bats at once? That is a tactic you sometimes see. You'll often see people, save up for like 4 or 5 of a single unit type to try and really surprise somebody, especially if it's a polarizing unit like a bat or a flying piece. But it looks like he's just going to be calling in some Morguls as Lore Boats does get activated. Doesn't really do much damage. I mean, against a zombie, yes. But in terms of value is what I meant to say. It's like 150 value or something. So nothing too crazy, not hitting multiple units. Call in for Ulrich is going to be Norsca Ice Wolves and do a little bit of fast forwarding while they posture. It looks like Norsca is going to be gathering at the gates. Tide Call is going down as well. Good burning head there. That was a good one. Yeah, deleting a Halberd unit is probably worth it. That's very, very good. So Ulrich does get a nice cast, and it also tickles the pickle of the Zombie Pirate Gunnery mob right there. Back in the trees, Marauders, and now we do get the Bat Force 1, so it is going to be Jack Chopper Bombers, which are very good against Norsca. If they can avoid Javelins, they can do some good work. You just got to watch out for the Chimera. Chimera can definitely chase them down and put some harass down. Vampire Fleet Captain using Tide Call on the Marauders, and I do like how Nerexa is sitting on the back of the objective. He could probably scoot back a tiny bit more and just get his guys like touching the edge of the point just to be as troll as possible. But yeah, I think it's not the biggest mistake in the world. So coming out is the Bloodtree Chimera. Bloodtree Chimera is super, super obnoxious and very, very tough to deal with. But the small arms fire can do some work against it. I don't know why this thing has missile resist built in. I guess it has like scaly skin or something. But Nurgle's like, want to buy some of that. Bomber mobs saturating in, getting some okay value against the Marauders, pushing back the forces of Ulrich Rahl is Lore Boats Wulfric, lurks in the shadows. Another Tide Call activated. Yeah, it's not bad. I think probably saving the Tide Calls for the blob fights when the Norskins are a little bit more congested would be better, but not the end of the world. All right, Chimera is in, and on the backside, we do get another Bomber Bat coming in. Now with, like, Immaculate Micro, Nerexa could just kite the Bloodshriek. So if the Bloodshriek is chasing a Bomber Mob, it's a win for the Vampire Coast because, basically a 2,000 gold unit or whatever the hell it is, like 1,700, 1,800, is chasing a much cheaper unit and not being occupied in battle. So we do see the Crabbo Stabbo summon coming out, so they are going to be dropped in the front, which is an interesting choice. I don't really know what the timing is on that. Okay, he's pushing back the javelins, allowing the bomber mobs to shoot. Okay, kind of a clever play. And they are going to be attacked by trolls. The trolls will dominate those rotting Prometheans in combat, in my experience. Over here in the woods, a little bit of a standoff. I would imagine that Norsca maybe has a couple depth guard in reserve as well. I think they're pretty good. A depth guard polearms can do very, very solid work here. Up in the sky, the Chimera eating a little bit of pistol fire from the ground, so the zombie pirate gunnery mob's able to take some HP off it, but now the doggo's going to be surging in. And we do see a bit of a weakness on this point. Objective 3 is very lightly fortified, and here the deckhand mob's going to be surging forth with Morngul support. If Mornguls can get on top of the javelins, that's going to be a big win here. Meanwhile, the other Mornguls and Scurvy Dogs need to be microed up here and help out a little bit. Granted, the bomber mob's doing okay, but a blunder in micro lets the deck droppers get caught by the Chimera. Elsewhere on the battlefield, the Crabbo summon fighting the Trolls actually not doing badly. Of course, losing the fight, but they are summoned, so it's not really the end of the world. And 2 halberd units, or not halberds, but javelin units here for all recall actually get tied up in combat with the zombie pirate deckhand mobs. Advancing out are the Scurvy Doggos. They're going to be pushing that cushion and coming out to party. A couple Morngul still sitting a little bit AFK here. They really should have made their way to the high ground objective. It's kind of sketchy here, but now we get the Night Terrors coming out as the halberds and the pistol mobs do get slowly worn down. Bomber mobs trying to do what they can, and it's basically just a game of micro here. Ooh, deck dropper handguns. I kind of like that, but yeah, they shouldn't be getting caught. This is just a blunder here. You can be running away from those guys, but you know, again, it's a very micro-intensive game between 2 high-level players, so those things can catch you. Spearfisher's net onto the Norscan Ice Trolls, and the Doggos do move into combat, but unfortunately overextend and are going to get pounded here a little bit. Value trading is somewhat even, favoring Ulrich Rahl at this point. Morngul Haunter, though, able to get these javelins offline. And the Vampire Coast is looking very stalwart in the middle. Their guns and halberds and zombies are holding the line and getting some decent value picks despite losing the Doggos here. And on the backside, the Vampire Coast is holding on as well. And he is microing his guns away now, which is good, so well played there to Aranessa. Ulrich Rahl, though, keeping that pressure on. Javelin fire, and he's a long-time Norscan player. There are the flavor of the month Norscan players who just play them now that they're a little bit OP. But Ulrich has been a Norscan main for like 7 years. Like, he's been maining them since I can remember. I remember him in Warhammer 2 and many, many moons. All right, over here on the side, zombie pirate deckhand mobs here gathering up. Pistols are holding the line, and so far the Bastion of the vampires holding in the middle, but on the flank, not looking so good. We see a lot of crumbling going down as Ulrich Rahl is able to break the lines here. He's able to catch some of the bomber mobs. So the bomber mobs, what they should have done is wheeled around the outside and fought over here. That would have pulled the Chimera away from the fight, and then he could have just farmed all these units and, yeah, also taken the Chimera away from this big kind of epicenter of combat. Night Terrors cleaving through the front line with a little bit of doggo support, and the Marauders now going to be engaging versus the Night Terrors. Back objective still being held. Depth Guard do arrive. Depth Guard are solid, I think a solid choice in this matchup. If they can avoid the Trolls, they can do very well. And Depth Guard with dual weapons will karate chop these Marauders. They're really going to get in there and give them the biz. So they're advancing in, surging forth, and getting ready to go hard in the paint. So objective 2 still being held by the Dickhand mobs, and it does look like Vampire Coast going for a triple cap despite their value deficit. So they're just kind of going for it and trying to win on objectives here. We do get the Chimera coming in. I think it's a Feral Manticore, so just regular Manticore, which is a brilliant play, by the way. These things are cheap, and Morngul Haunters have relatively average melee defense, but low armor too. So a Feral Manticore is an excellent choice right there. But that objective does flip, but I think Ulrich is in the process of breaking through in the middle. His Trolls and Wulfric, of course, pretty good, consistent fighters, as they do get the elboinks down on some of the zombies. So that does continue on. And Burning Head up on the top, going to be roasting through some of the zombies. Not bad at all, leading to a crumble, and the just kind of basically everything is being held together with like duct tape, right? Not duct tape, but what's Scotch tape? You guys know Scotch tape, like that really weak tape? Basically, that's like the whole Vampire Coast formation right now. Like, they're barely holding on to this objective, barely holding on to the middle. The back one is also in flux and looking a little bit sketchy. Granted, the Chadgull Haunter, you know, he's able to defeat the Manticore, but, you know, at a cost. And these are going to be Marauder Horse and Throwing Axes, which will help finish off that Morngul Haunter. But yeah, Norsca really going for an objective stuff. I think he started to notice that the game is kind of getting a little bit out of control, so he's desperately playing the objectives and just hoping that he can win on points. But Ulrich is going to be anchoring down here, getting his Norscan Ice Wolves up on the objective, and yeah, he's got friggin' 3 of those things. Pretty good fighters, honestly. Norscan Ice Wolves are monstrous, and they're a bit of a soft counter against Mornguls. A Morngul will win 1-1, but 2 Norscan Ice Wolves could probably envelop and take down a Morngul, which wouldn't be bad at all. Here we get a bit of a pit fight. It is going to be Aranessa's Salt's fight, battling it out versus Wulfric. Wulfric should do pretty well there. Granted, he does lack AP, and Madon's luck is activated, so we'll see if Aranessa is going to be able to pull off a lucky fight here, but I don't think so. I think the Hunter of Champions, with his troll support, is going to be able to defeat Aranessa, but we will come back to that fight in a moment, as the middle objective is going to be flipping. Topside objective also not looking great. The zombies there are going to be folding. The Marauder Horsemen will be able to get it done. And now as we head to the back, we do see the Last Stand pocket. I mean, look, it is a triple cap situation, but that's a long time to hold, especially considering there's a Bloodshriek Chimera out, which has gotten about 1,100 value. Hasn't paid for itself yet, but it's an absolute menace. And it is going to be able to punch through both the Night Terrors as well as the Depth Guard Every time I hear Depth Guard, it makes me think of Death Guard. But yep, more zombies on the way out. And Aranessa, how is she looking in the middle? If she folds up, this is a faction that very low base leadership on their units. It's only 40 on the deckhand mobs, right? So they crumble really easily when they lose their lord. It's really, really bad. Granted, crumbling is nowhere near as punishing as demonic disintegration. It's something that you can kind of ignore, and it's really not that big of a deal sometimes. But when it's faction-wide, of course, at -16 to -10 on your leadership, it's very, very rough. Ulrich just pouring across the map. The Warhammer Viking hordes are here. Wulfric the Wanderer, though, kind of getting his butt kicked a little bit by Aranessa, despite the fact that there are some supporting Norskins nearby. And that's what you get for just not having armor. They should really... Wulfric is supposed to be like a duelist character. I mean, he should beat Aranessa in a fight. I'm pretty sure he would if he uses Hunter of Champions and in just like a straight fair fight. It's a little bit hard to tell because there's other variables included. But yeah, Wulfric needs, I don't know, maybe like a bonus versus infantry or a bonus versus large. I don't know, something, a little bit of milk. Granted, I don't really advocate for like, he's fine. He's not like terrible. He's still good because of lore boats, but that really is like, you know, the Homer Simpson meme where he's like held together. He's got like tape around his back, like holding all of his fat back. That's basically like Wulfric with his Seafang ability. All right, so this objective looking precarious as the Depth Guard are going to be getting ground down. Ice Trolls are a hard counter against Depth Guard. They will crush through them with their big armor-piercing beatsticks, and those little vampire boys not going to be having a good old time there. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the tournament won by Ulrich Rahl. So this was the tournament in which my dreaded internet issues had returned. Somehow Palpatine returned. And Ulrich probably going to be coming in and winning this one, as we do see the objective flipping back and forth. But I don't know, is there something cooking here? I don't think so. Yeah, Ulrich gets in there with everything, and that's got to be it. GG. It was a fun match, honestly. What were the big misplays that Norsca had? I'm trying to think. I think probably you yield the middle. You pull back, because he had the double cap for a long time. He could have afforded to pull back and let Norsca move up and had a better defensive position. Also, I think there was some blunders with the Air Force. I think a lot of the bat units just kind of got caught and killed by things that shouldn't have caught them. I think they are faster than the Chimera. So the Chimera, let's actually go check that. But nonetheless, it was a really good attempt. Ulrich's a top-tier player, and Norsca is also a top-tier player. Both are players who are very capable of winning and contending in champion level events. In their primes, at least. I'm not sure how active these two are these days. But yeah, it was a good attempt on both sides. So let's go ahead and take a look here and see what the speed is on those units. So if we head over here, let's go look at the Warriors of Chaos, because I know they have it. So the Chimera is 85 speed, which is pretty fast. It might be faster than the deck droppers. It might be, but even still, if you just spam move away, you should be able to mitigate your losses pretty heavily. I would imagine the deck droppers are like 80, something like that. Yeah, they're about similar speed, 80, 85 speed in that ballpark. So yeah, you could probably get away, but yeah, GG, well played, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. See you around, and all hail the mighty. They'll get them next time.